Well, g'day curd nerds. G'day curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day curd nerds and welcome to another episode of Ask the Cheeseman. This is episode 148. Only two to go before we hit the big 150. So very happy about that accomplishment. And hello to everybody who's here today. A few shout outs today for new financial members. We've got on YouTube memberships, we've got California Jones. Thank you, California. And we've got Monique Wyatt. Thank you, Monique, for your financial contribution to the show in the form of YouTube memberships. We've also got a couple of new patrons. We've got Sebastian Lombardo. Thank you, Sebastian. And we've got Treacle B. Thank you, Treacle B, for your ongoing patronage. And to all the other patrons and YouTube members who make the show possible through their kind monthly financial donations. What's going on in the world? Well, craziness as always, but in the cheese world, this week's cheese video will be the Persian feta taste test. Now, there's a little bit of play on words in that because we've had some angry Greek people tell me that feta can only be made in Greece, not in Persia. So, anyway, who knows? But anyway, wait for that. That'll be out for YouTube members tonight. My time, and then released on Monday morning my time. Now, we do have some gallery photos. Before I say hello to everybody, first of all, let me just bring up the gallery. Okay, what am I doing today? Right, here we go. So, the gallery today. Today's picture, or pictures. This one's from Patricia Gauchi. She's over in Nova Scotia in Canada. I'm not sure if she's in the chat at the moment. Usually she is. But this is her smoothing down her Shropshire blue. Very cool indeed. She's got another photo she sent in. It's very small, but I'll make it a little bit bigger. That's pressing her feta. So that's very cool, using some tomatoes, cans of tomatoes. Very imaginative. And I think that container, the silver container there that you can see the pointer at, I think that's one of those, I think the things you put utensils in. That's what it looks like anyway. The next photo, whoops, if I can find it, where is it? Where's little arrows? Here we go. This one's from Ruth Cohen, and I think she's in the chat. Yes, she is, which is absolutely fantastic. You can see that she's made another a cheddar. We call it Planet Cheddar here. It's a marbled cheddar, and that looks absolutely fantastic. And I think that's in her cheese fridge, ready to age. So, all very cool. So that's today's cheese making gallery. So let's say hello to a few people, shall we? Right at the start, well, actually, right at the very start this morning at 4 a.m. my time, we were woken up to the curd nerd light flashing, and that was a $5 super chat from Sebastian. So thank you, Sebastian. Because it's lost to the annals of time, I cannot see what the comment was. It's just gone. But anyway, thank you so much for your kind super chat at 4 a.m. this morning. My time, of course. Anyway, shout outs. We've got Genji Pie. G'day, Genji. We'll get to your question in a minute. We've got Ruth. G'day, Ruth. Lovely to see you. Harry. Hello, Harry. We've got John from San Francisco. Thank you, John, for turning up today. We've got Tilt. Hello, Tilt. First time, I think. We've got Robin. G'day, Robin. Lovely to see you. We got Nicola. Thanks, Nicola. How are you, mate? We got Bill. Hello, Bill. We got Delta. Who else we got? We got Wilma Charlie. G'day. How are you, Charlie? Kim's online, who's our moderator today, which is absolutely fantastic. Was I got Frank? G'day, Frank. I'll get your question soon. Wolfhound 180. G'day, mate. And we got Aga. Hello, mate. All the way from Spain. Ian from Edinburgh. G'day, Ian. And Graham and Bling Bling. We've got Gustav. G'day, Gustav. Where are we? Bruce. G'day, Bruce. Long time no see, mate. Where else? We got Winterzette B from Iowa. G'day. How are you? Where else? Right, I'm a bit lost. Where have I gone? Okay. Aga. No, we already said Aga. Bling Bling. That's about it. Oh, Hacker Russ. That'll do. Annals. Yes, Annals. Sorry, mate. Not, yeah, what I said. Yeah, I understand. Okay, let's get on with the show. We've got a couple of other things here. Now, I have mentioned a few times before that we're getting a studio built, and you'll notice that the chair on camera 2 is different today. We now have a lovely papillon or butterfly chair with Holly. Holly! There's Holly, the Curd Nerd dog, and you can see that the chair is different today. That's because the Cheesy Chair of Wisdom has been transferred to the new studio, which I'll just show you some pictures of now, if I can dig it up. Here we go. Let's make that full screen and go to the desktop. Okay, so this is the studio in our backyard. I may have shown this before, I'm not too sure. So that's before the internal fit out was finished. This is where the old chook house used to be, for those who know the place. Let's go that way. That's when we've got the floor in. There's a storeroom at the back. We've got a lot of stock here that we sell in our shop at Little Green Workshops. We've got some racking systems in place. Kim's hung some artwork up. Got a lovely view of the garden and the swimming pool behind, which is really cool. And in fact, I'll go back to this picture. The Cheesy Chair of Wisdom is where this big long window is now, but we can't see that because we haven't taken a photo of it yet. There's the two doggos looking very lonely before we started putting furniture in. And that's it before the floor was laid down. Got some nice lighting around it and a lovely little deck there. And that's where we'll be filming some YouTube videos very, very soon. So that's our studio slash storeroom slash R&D area for Little Green Workshops. And we'll be putting up more tutorials, not only the cheese ones, of course, that are regular anyway, but we'll be doing more soap making, candle making, bath bombs, bar beauty, that sort of stuff. That'll be on our other channel, which is Little Green Workshops here on YouTube. So you'll see more of that coming soon. So they're the bits I wanted to get out the way before the show started. So let's go and have a look at the very first question for the day. And that's from Genji Pie. Says, Mr. Gavin, milk pasteurisation, can I stir every minute until the temperature gets to 63 Celsius? 2 litres of milk, is it needed to hold for 30 minutes? Is it off the fire for the hold of 30 minutes, and is it needed to stir? Okay, so Kim, if you can put the link up for Genji Pie for the pasteurisation video, if you can find the link for that, the what did I call it? Low temperature long hold pasteurisation or home pasteurisation, and Genji can see all of the instructions there. That'll help out. Okay, next question is from Frank, and Frank says, G'day Gavin. G'day Frank. I have a question for you. How necessary is it that I have to turn my cheese at the halfway time during brining? Normally I brine the cheese overnight. Thanks, Frank. Quite important, Frank, if you can do that, because the salt won't be absorbed by the top surface unless you've got it submerged like I can with my little brining tub, because I had that little the mat over the top that pushes the cheese down underneath the surface of the brine. I can kind of get away with it sometimes. But what you can do for an even salting for the cheese is, if you're doing it overnight and you can't turn it, you don't want to wake up at like 3 a.m. in the morning, then sprinkle a layer of salt over the top of the exposed surface of the cheese, and that'll help absorb some salt as well. But ideally, really, you should flip it over at the halfway time for even salting. Okay, the next question or statement is from John. John said, it's Mr. and Mrs. Queso from down under, south of the equatorial border. Very cool. Nice description there, John. What's the next question? Harry says, everybody is sharing what cool part of the world they're from, and I'm just like from California. Just from California. It's a long way away from where I am here in Melton in Australia. So Harry, don't be too perturbed. It's not just California. It's a long way away from where I am. And I hear it's nice this time of year there. Okay. Gustav says, do I like mozzarella? I love mozzarella when it's the buffalo mozzarella that is the traditional type. Creamy, moist, absolutely delicious. I make a low moisture version of mozzarella. And Kim, if you can put up the video of the traditional mozzarella, that would be great for Gustav, and he can have a look on the way that I make it. Okay. Next question is, someone said something about an appearance from Kim. Ruth just mentioned that when we hit 100 episodes, Kim made an appearance. Seems just like yesterday. How about another visit on camera for 150? Maybe not at the moment. While Kim's going through her treatment, she's a little bit shy. But yeah, she is absolutely gorgeous. What have we got here? We've got a $20 super chat, but the light hasn't triggered. Oh, there we go. There's the Curd Nerd light. Absolutely fantastic. And we'll see who that's from. That's from Ruth. G'day, Ruth. Question is, my first brie doubled the recipe, used 6-inch molds, and overnight the height went down so far that I layered one on top of the other. Had 8 molds and now I have 4. Is that okay at this stage? It is draining in the 4 molds. Yeah, I've done that before, Ruth, where I've made camemberts that have shrunk to so small that I put one of the others from the other mold on top. And at that stage, because they were so fairly loose, the curds integrated well and there was no issues with it. So I've done that before and it's turned out okay. So have no fear, it should work out okay. And using 6-inch molds for the bries, they'll be, decent size. They'll look really nice. So well done you, overcoming. And thank you for your kind $20 super chat. I really appreciate it. Jordan, g'day Jordan, says, I made your tome. The curds never really set. I let them sit an extra hour. They were sloppy. I couldn't even stir them. Let sit for 30 minutes before I hung them to drain and placed them in a press in a mould. Don't know what's going on there, Jordan. Maybe something to do with the milk, rennet. Usually about that stage, that's what happens. Yeah, check your source of milk, mate. I think there may be something wrong there. But yeah, when you don't get a curd set, it's either the milk or the rennet is the culprit at that early stage of the cheese making process. Or not enough calcium chloride if it's heat treated milk. So Kim's just said, got to wait for my hair to grow back She looks like a bit of a baby chimp at the moment. Yeah, that's okay, honey. You still look absolutely gorgeous. Okay, Patricia tuned in. Hopefully you got to see your pictures there, Patricia, that I showcased in the cheesy gallery. Where are we? Ruth says baby chimps are adorable. All right, cool. Yeah, they are. Jordan says, and continued as the recipe goes. I hope it'll be okay, not just a regular tome. What do you think? Look, I think if you press it and you got some sort of curds out of it, Jordan, it'll be a cheese. It probably won't be a tome. But look, mate, I've had worse disasters, and they've turned out okay, and you've had some nice cheesy bits, and it'll be lovely. Anyway, we'll go from there. Okay, lots of activity now. I'm just trying to find where the next question is. Patricia must have asked something about where's the chook. Oh, no, there it is. No, hang on, I missed it. No, I missed lots of questions there. Hang on, where are we? Bling Bling says it's like Romper Room. Yeah, a little bit. Jerry says, g'day from Bradford in England. G'day, Jerry. Martin has a question. Does the amount of penicillium roquefort really matter in the end? Making blue cheese tomorrow, and the recipe says knife's edge of it. What does that mean? Does the amount... Look, I tend to only put in, for a 10-litre batch, I would put in about 1/8 of a teaspoon of penicillium roquefort, and that's fairly small. So a knife's edge, I think they're talking about, you get a sharp knife, the tip of the knife, just coat that in penicillium roquefort. It's pretty powerful stuff. It kind of overtakes everything, but no more usually than 1/8, because it becomes way too overpowering. So people love holly. There she is again, just for all of you, having a bit of a nappio. Ruth says, Holly looks good in the butterfly chair, indeed. And Patricia says, what happened to your old chooks? I think Kim may have even answered that somewhere. Yep, she said, the chook, Mrs. Potts, we've only got one chicken now, Mrs. Potts, and she lives in another garden. Yes, indeed she does. I actually have a picture of Mrs. Potts. Let's see if I can dig it up quickly. Talk amongst yourselves there for a second. Let's have a look in the video list of videos. Before we do that, though, we've got another super chat, $5 one this time, and this one's from Chris B. G'day, Chris. How are you? Hi, Gavin. How long can you keep raw milk in the fridge? I can get some raw milk, but only 2 to 3 litres at a time. Thoughts on freezing milk? Chris, yep, you certainly can freeze milk. Not very long. I wouldn't freeze it for more than a month. If you can get 2 or 3 litres at a time, absolutely fantastic. I've made raw milk cheese with frozen milk a couple of times, actually. Once was the Vicino Romano, which I made, and you've probably seen a video about that one. That was raw milk was transported all the way from Tasmania, right down in Cygnet, which is below Hobart. So that came, I think she had it frozen for about a week, and it worked fine, so that was good. I also got some frozen milk from Graham at Acacia Saltbush Lambs, and it was ewe's milk, and that was frozen. That turned up frozen, and that was great as well. So yeah, no issues using frozen whole milk. Just let it come up to temperature, and it'll defrost by itself, obviously. And once you get to the starting temperature, then away you go with your normal process. You can't really keep it too long in the fridge. I wouldn't keep raw milk in the fridge longer than 3 days. It tends to over-acidify, and then at about 7 days, then bad bacteria can get into it, because, as you know, milk is an ideal breeding ground for all sorts of bacteria, and raw milk especially so. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question, Chris. Alrighty, let's get back to what I was doing before. I got some chicken pictures here somewhere. Where are we? Let's have a look. I don't know which are the best ones. I'll just bring this up. Oh, here we go. This looks good. All right, this is, let's go to camera, no, not camera 2, that's Holly. The desktop, here we go. Here's a video of the chooks that we have. I don't know if you can actually hear anything, but, well, one of those 2 chickens has passed away, but here they are drinking some whey in the garden. This is going to be part of my 20,000 Ways with Whey video. So Mrs. Potts is the one on the right of the screen, and she is still alive and kicking and doing very, very well, and looking very good. The other one was called Dora the Explorer. She passed away about 2 or 3 months ago, but Mrs. Potts is still going strong, and she lives alone by herself, and we visit her every single day, and she seems to enjoy the life around our garden. She's never tried to escape, which is fantastic, but yeah, that's Mrs. Potts. We call her Mrs. Potts because she likes to dig in all of the pots in our garden. So all of the fruit trees we've got in pots, she likes to dig around in them. Anyway, John says, a nice place for the koalas, roos and wallabies, and just heard of 3 other Aussie critters like a boy-aged beaver, yeah, the platypus, yep, and a peaceful and ornery like weasels. Yeah, platypuses are quite peaceful. They actually have a poison spike on their hind legs, so don't get near them. Anything in Australia is trying to kill you, so there we go. Laura, g'day Laura, love to see you. I backpacked to Jarlsberg now 2 months that had a crack in it. Now the bag won't stay tight because the air escaping the cheese, I think. Any recommendations? Maybe how to seal up the crack. Depends on how bad the crack is, Laura. Yes, it's producing CO2, as we know. That's what Jarlsberg does. That's the problem with backpacking those sorts of cheeses. They tend to puff up and release CO2 whilst during eye formation. You can't really seal the crack up. What you can do is just re-vacuum pack it if you want to protect it from any sorts of molds and stuff. So that's about as good as it gets, Laura. But great question. Cassandra says, hello, I'm a beginner. Where can I buy all my stuff to make cheese? I'm having problems on which milk to buy. I live in America, but they have so many milks, I don't know which one to buy. Kim, there is a milk video, the best milks, cow's milk to use for cheese making. It's Australian based, but it gives you an idea on the types of milk. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. There we go. So Kim, if you can pop that up for Cassandra. Where can you buy all your stuff? Well, normally we'd ship it to you, but we're not shipping internationally at the moment due to COVID-19 and stuff getting lost, and Australia Post, who's our international carrier, is not picking up from our business. So I'm not going to the post office for anybody's business. Certainly don't want to catch that dreadful thing, bring it back and get Kim infected, and she'll have a worse time of it than all of us. Anyway, there's a couple of places in the US that I know of. Just a Google search for cheese making supplies, you'll find them. You won't have any problems. One of the more reliable ones in the US is New England Cheese Making Supply. So go and check that out if you really want to. Amazon. I've actually got an Amazon store, if you're going to have a look at the link in the description, where you can get a fair bit of your supplies as well. There are affiliate links, of course, so a little bit of the sales money goes to me if you purchase them using that link. But there's a couple of hints. XPFC Wintergreen says, g'day Gavin and Kim and all the curd nerds worldwide. Thanks, mate. Nicholas says, g'day Gav. Thank you for the wealth of knowledge you freely give. Much respect. Thanks, mate. Peace. The General says, hi Gavin, I want to make kefili, but I don't have MA 4001. Only the aromatic. Will it still work? Thanks. Will, but it won't be kefili. It may even have some eye formation. The texture of the cheese will be a lot more buttery than what a normal kefili will be, because in most aromatic mesophilics, they have a diacetyl culture which produces buttery tones on the tongue during the cheese making process. A plain mesophilic will probably be better than an aromatic mesophilic at this stage. So I hope that answers your question. Paul says, hi Gavin, made your Gruyere. Week 6 of the wash, mould only on the sides and brown spots. Top and bottom seem very moist but perfectly clean, keeping it at 52 Fahrenheit. Sounds pretty good. Paul, the brown spots, they grow. That's just part of Gruyere, and you'll find that eventually the brown becomes brown all over, and that's just the coloration of the cheese itself. Now that there's only moulds on the side, probably best to stop washing. You've done 6 weeks of washing. Probably best to stop washing, let it dry out a little bit, and just brush the moulds off with a soft brush or a clean cheesecloth, and just keep it clean that way. Make sure you're keeping it at the right humidity at 52 Fahrenheit or 13 Celsius. So yeah, it should be good. Ricky Donna, g'day mate, long time no see. I watched sous vide everything make a smooth cheese with sodium citrate, and wish that you were there to taste it with them. Yeah, that would be interesting. But you've probably seen, Ricky, you've probably seen my American cheese version where I made the sodium citrate from scratch and then made the cheese. So Kim, if you can pop the link up for the American cheese for Ricky, that would be absolutely fantastic. Thank you, honey. Next question is from... Somebody says they want it in French. Parlez-vous français? That's all the French I know. So that's about as good as it's going to get. Charlie says, having made a few of your Parmesan recipes and all excellent, apart from not being as dry as I would have liked, I decided to age for 10 months in a vac pack, then 2 months in a box. It was perfect. Thank you. That is a good tip. Thank you, Charlie. And great that you've experimented there with the Parmesan. So, so the final 2 months, just writing this down, months in a ripening box. Very good indeed. And if it turned out perfect, so a bit dry and, it cracks like normal Parmesan. So, yeah, well done. No problems at all. Okay. Missed a few. Patricia's got a question, says, my NS Strong or Shropshire Blue stopped growing blue mould ages ago and the surface is pretty dry, but it's still ripening. Shouldn't it keep growing mould? Relative humidity varies from 75 to 95. Not so much when you've patted it down, you smoothed it off now, Patricia. Most of the blue will already be inside and creating those lovely veins like they normally do for Shropshire Blue. Don't be too worried if you don't get a coating of blue on the outside of the cheese. I know for my Shropshire Blue that didn't happen. I didn't get a coating on the outside of the cheese. I was just particularly worried about whether I had the veining on the inside, which turned out all right in the end, as you all saw. So I think it'll be okay, Patricia. From looking at that photo that you sent in for the gallery, then I think it'll be fine. Yes, now what? Says Gavin, what is my favourite cheese? As I answer in every live stream, I love all the cheeses. They are all delightful. Genji says, morning, Mr. Gavin. I've already answered that question. Pasteurisation, we've done that one. The General says, hi Gavin, can you give a quick rundown on whether the proportion of moulds are critical? Do they not just colonise in the curds regardless? Answered that question already. So yeah, If you add too much, I think it's overpowering. They grow too fast. You can add just a small amount, which we mentioned at the back at the start. Xanos says, which Warhammer 40,000 race is the best? I have no idea. I don't play it. That'd be something to ask my 20-year-old son who does play Warhammer. The General says, why are thermophilic cultures useful in cheese that don't go above 35 degrees? And that's a good question, because sometimes I do add thermophilics. So if you look at the starter culture, for instance, MA 4001 or 4002, it's the same culture. It actually has Streptococcus thermophilus in that blend of cultures, which is a thermophilic culture. What happens is it creates enzymes which produce better flavours in the cheese. They don't particularly activate and go crazy because the temperature's below 35. They do like it at about 42 degrees Celsius. So technically they're not really multiplying too much, especially at those low temperatures. They're more for when they do die off, and the enzymes they leave behind create better flavours in the cheese. That's why we do add some thermophiles to low temperature cheeses. Manel has a question, and good to see you, Manel. I have a small refrigerator. Can I make it like a small room to get an ideal temperature for a dry cheese? Yes, mate, you can add a external thermostat to that refrigerator, very similar to what I've done with my bar fridge. And Kim, if you can pop up the video of the cheese fridge showed people how the external thermostat kind of worked and that sort of stuff. So I think it's called My Cheese Fridge or something like that. Manel can see what I've done there. Kevin says, hey Gav, do not waste your money on a sous vide wand. The element burns in milk and it's very difficult to clean. Kevin, I have bought one, and you don't put it in the milk. You put it in water and put your pot of milk in the water bath, and that's how you maintain the temperature. So yeah, only ever use your sous vide in the water, as I think John has suggested down there below. And yeah, I've yet to crack it open and try it because of all this moving into the new studio. We really haven't had the time. Nejma, I think that's how you say it. I'm from Algeria and like what you do and trying to make cheese. That's fantastic. Keep trying. Watch the videos and get into it. Jordan says, is that a jalapeno plant next to your chickens? Do you overwinter it and keep the same plant going? Normally, Jordan, I do. I've got that jalapeno lasted about 3 years, and that one's dead now. And I pulled that one out long ago. But yes, I do overwinter the jalapeno. In fact, I've got a jalapeno bush in the garden at the moment, doing very well. Got lots and lots of chilies on it still. And yes, I do let them overwinter, and they produce and flower for about 3 years here in our climate. They don't have too many problems at all. But yeah, and they are perfect for jalapeno stir curd cheddar. Don't you worry about that, as we've seen in previous videos. Randall says, hey Gavin, I have beehives, wondering if beeswax is suitable for waxing cheese. Thanks, Randall. Beeswax is okay to wax your cheese with, as long as you've heated it up enough that there are no bacteria still lurking in the beeswax. So when you melt it down, it should be above 75 degrees Celsius. But other than that, sometimes beeswax does tend to crack at lower temperatures. It's not as flexible as, say, the microcrystalline cheese wax that we use. So, yeah, you can use it if at a pinch, but it may crack, especially when cheese tends to expand a little bit. If you've got a gas-producing bacteria in the cheese, it cracks a lot easier than what the microcrystalline cheese wax does. That has a little bit of flex in it. Not too much, but it has enough flex in it that it won't crack. But give it a go and let us know what the results are. Raphael says, hi Gavin, I am at the start of my cheese making journey. I had my first epic fail today after using UHT milk. That's a trick for young players, that one, I tell you. After a day with rennet no curds, any idea what to do with the oozy stuff? You obviously haven't read that. There's a link, three comments below from my beautiful wife Kim, where I say don't use UHT milk. So maybe that video would have been prudent, I think. What to do with the oozy stuff? Definitely drain it through a butter muslin tight weave cheesecloth. It'll be some of the nicest tasting ricotta you ever did have. So yeah, give that a go. Kevin says, made Jim Wallace's Revolution, which I haven't tried yet, Kevin, so we'll see how we go with this advice. Spraying every 2 days with bee linens, but after 30 days still not turning orange. Beautiful white mould. Did the recipe have Geo in it maybe? Just wrapping and it will taste in 30 days to keep you posted. Okay, yeah, please do. Send me a picture, that'll be great. Thanks, Kevin. Raphael says, we'll use fresh milk next time, obviously. Indeed, that will work out really well. Where are we? I've lost my place. Scroll down a little bit and it scrolls down a mile. Aga says, building a community would probably be useful. Plenty of non-super chat members. Somebody asked a funny question about YouTube. Percentage-wise, you have very few payers compared to followers. Just saying. Yeah, not sure where that's come from, Aga. Yes, there are plenty of non-super chat members here. I appreciate that. Don't worry about that. Nicola says, Kevin, my Revolution never turns orange, just yellow. It took a bit of time, 5 or 6 weeks, I think. That's good advice. Thanks, Nicola. Devin, g'day Devin, lovely to see you here. G'day Gavin, can't find sheep's milk anywhere. Any thoughts on using 100% sheep's milk powder to produce a sheep's milk manchego? Never tried it, Devin. I kind of stay away from milk powders unless I'm making yogurt, which tend to work out a lot better because they're more creamier, but I don't use milk powder in any of my cheeses. I did try once. It was a dismal failure. That was with cow's milk powder, so I can't attest to how sheep's milk powder would actually go. I don't think it's got the fats and the solids in it that you need to make a good cheese. And yes, it is very difficult to get your hand on sheep's milk anywhere. The stuff that I used in the past was gifted to me. So, yeah, that was a bit of a problem. But best of luck trying to find some. Kevin says he's still on about his Revolution. The Revolution, after 30 days, is getting a bit oozy on the edges. Just put it in the normal fridge. Is okay. Yeah, it'll slow down the starter cultures and the brevibacterial linens, and it'll slow down proteolysis, which is the conversion of the proteins into that creamy camembert-like paste that normally happens if things get over proteolyzed. I suppose that's a word. Anyway, moving right along. Ruth says, Raphael, my first 6 months or so, my failure rate was about 60%. It really does get better with lots of practice. Took me a long time to find the right milk. As Gavin says, soldier on. Indeed. Sean Boat says, G'day Gav, all the best to Kim. G'day Sean. I cut into my Colby today, my first aged cheese, and there are a lot of mechanical holes. How do I avoid that? More pressure, basically, mate, on the final pressing. If you have mechanical holes and they're non-shiny, that's how you tell difference between mechanical and gas-produced holes. Gas-produced holes are usually shiny on the inside. Mechanical holes are just, gaps in your cheese. More pressure is basically what you need during that final pressing. So that's the solution. Manel says, when I made cheese, I'm not getting a good cured or curd, maybe, but I complete the process. Do you think I'll get the same cheese and taste? Quite possibly, Manuel. It depends on what cheese you're making, of course. You don't say it there, but yeah, if you don't get a good curd set, then yeah, look, you can soldier on as best as you can. But yeah, see if you can get yourself better milk or better rennet, what have you. Ricky says, I have all of your videos on my liked list. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Patricia says, Gav, I recently lucked into a cheap copy of the Cheese Maker's Manual by Margaret Peters Morris, Glengarry Cheesemaking. Do you have this one? I absolutely love this book. The Cheesemaker's Manual, I think that was, I looked at the price here in Australia, it was like $400. It's about this thick or something. But yeah, I have seen it. But yeah, I'm not going to pay $400 for a cheese book. But I have heard some good things about it. Well done you getting yourself a copy of it. Kevin says, my can blue got excellent mould on the outside but no blue veins after poking. What can I do next time? The taste is great. Poke it again. It's called piercing, but yes, you pierce the cheese again. When you've got a blue coating, open those holes up again and let the blue mould grow inside. John Duncan says hello from the UK. Hello, John. Robin says, John, you put the sous vide into a pot which contains a cheese pot. Something like that. Anyway, sorry, I got a super chat. I got flashing light. Let's kill that. There we go. Treacle B says £5. Thank you very much for your super chat. Hi Gavin, we are new to cheese making and wondered if you got a video about how to make a cheese press. Can you please help? Indeed, there is a video about how to make cheese presses. Kim, if you can pop up the link to the do-it-yourself cheese presses, and it's not a technical how to make video. It's more of a video on lots of different homemade cheese presses that people have made, and you'll get a good idea on how to make one yourself. You can make them very cheap, indeed. Some people have just made these basic levers or levers that they've hung weights on the end of the lever, and it has a perpendicular pole, and there you go. And that works very well. So, Kim, if you can find that link for Treacle B, that will be absolutely fantastic. The do-it-yourself cheese presses, and you'll get some ideas there. Kevin says, how's the new studio coming along? You must have missed it, Kevin. So have a look at the replay, and you'll see some photos of it. Drew Dastardly says, is it possible to make good casu marzu from pasteurised cow's milk in the supermarket? You got to get yourself some healthy maggots there, Drew. That's what I'd be concerned about more than anything else, of course. John says, I know that cheese mites are the enemy of the cheesemaker, but have you ever tried to make a mite ripened cheese like Mimolette? No, I haven't made it. We don't have cheese mites here. Well, where I live anyway. Not in my cheese fridge. So I haven't come across the little beasties yet. But if I ever do, maybe Mimolette will be on the list of cheeses to make, that's for sure. Okay. John says, with all that hot chicken poo on that chili pepper bush, it really should ratchet up the Scovilles. Indeed. They were quite hot chili. Don't you worry about that. Rue says, will Morbier be better if it's aged longer? The recipe says about 2 months. I think I'm tempted to give it more time. Smells good at 2 months. What do you think? If you think it smells okay, Ruth, then it's quite a young cheese. Morbier. It's not really aged too long. I do have some of that Morbier that I had a bitter taste because there wasn't enough salt in it. I've got it vac packed in the cheese fridge. I've only got to let it age for an extra month, so it's nearly ready for tasting actually, to see if that bitterness goes away. But I would taste it as soon as the recipe says 2 months, so I wouldn't go much longer than that. It tends to develop a more runnier paste in the middle, and you'll lose that ash line that we're looking for when you crack open the cheese. So give that a go, Ruth. J. Do says, I've been attempting to order from your shop for delivery to New Zealand. The cart says no shipping options. Any thoughts? Indeed, the thoughts are that we're not shipping internationally at the moment. The only reason that people from other countries can actually go to use the system at the moment is because I have an ebook there that does ship digitally all over the world. There's no issue shipping an ebook, of course, because you just download it. But yeah, there are no shipping options because we're not shipping at the moment due to Australia Post not picking up from our business, as I mentioned earlier in the show. Okay, we've got 15 minutes to go, so we'll see how many more questions we can get through. Kim's already answered that question I just mentioned anyway. Thank you, Kim. I should have read a little bit further down. Creamy says, hey, Gavin, I watched your videos with my little brother and love your style. I was wondering what your favourite food to combine with cheese is. Oh, goodness me. I love cheese and everything. I do like... I love some... Romano or Parmesan in a nice risotto. Absolutely delicious, just makes a good risotto. If you don't put Parmesan or Romano into risotto, it just doesn't taste the same. And I've actually I think I've got a mushroom risotto video somewhere on the channel. Kim, can you pop that in the chat? That would be absolutely fantastic. Check out my creamy mushroom risotto. But yeah, that's a really nice dish. That's just one of many hundreds that we use our cheese for. But we do love the cheese that I produce on cheese platters, really do. So yeah, a cheese platter with crackers, different types of cheese that I've made, and that's what we do on a Friday night here at Castle Weber. William says, I was watching a Bon Appetit video the other day and the chefs there were having a lot of trouble doing a blind taste test and telling cheeses apart. A video idea. Can the expert show them a thing or two? Ooh. It'd be difficult to do that with... Oh no, it probably wouldn't be too difficult. I've tasted so many cheeses now. To do a blind... I could do styles of cheese. It's not that hard. They've all got different tastes, but yeah, it's not as easy as people think. Doing a blind taste test on cheese. So yeah, it's an idea. I'll put it down, William. Blind taste test. And if I get it totally wrong, that's still fine because it is a difficult thing to do. Manel says, what's the difference in the process when I make half the cheese recipe? Halve the ingredients, but keep the temperatures the same, Manel. Keep the pressing pressure the same. The ripening maybe a little bit less, depends on the cheese. But yeah, they're the main tips. Chrissy says, oops, good morning. Cracked open my farmhouse cheddar with jalapenos. 3 months, vac packed, and it tastes like vinegar pickled jalapenos. Sounds nice. Sounds nice indeed. If you use fresh jalapenos or if you use pickled jalapenos, then that pickled taste will be all the way through. I used fresh jalapenos in my jalapeno farmhouse cheddar, so not sure what's going on. That sounds like a nice flavour to me. Desta says, you make the best videos. Thanks so much for sharing this knowledge with us. No problems at all, Desta. Patricia says, interested in the technique offering for aging Parmesan, 10 months in a bag, 2 months out of bag. Might this be a good way to finish Romano? Indeed, Patricia, I think that would be good for all hard Italian cheeses. But no, that sounds fantastic. Anyway, I'm nearly at the end of the chat. This is amazing. Snack Boy says, I've made ricotta-like cheese. It was more crumbly and I don't know what I did wrong. I do know what you did wrong. Probably too much acid. It tends to, the less amount of acid you use during making either sweet ricotta or whey ricotta, the creamier the cheese is going to be and the smoother the ricotta becomes. If you use too much acid, it tends to really bind up, go rubbery and clumpy, and you'll get a pretty ordinary or inedible sort of ricotta. So the least amount of acid to curdle the ricotta or to separate it from the whey or from the milk, the better off the ricotta is. Okay, Treacle Lab says, that's ace, thanks both, no problems at all. Patricia says, lots of videos on how to make a cheese press on YouTube. There are quite a few. You can just Google them. People seem to put those up there more than they do cheese making videos. And Kimmy slipped in the mushroom risotto, which is absolutely fantastic. Felipe says, hi Gavin, say hello to Brazil. Hello Brazil. Nice YouTube channel. Take care, man. Thanks, mate. Treacle B says, we love risotto. We'll give that a go. That is actually a really good recipe, Treacle B. It's delicious. It really is. Albin says, thanks for the videos, Gav. Thanks, Albin. And Snack Boy, thanks so much for the advice. No problems at all. That's the end as far as I can tell, unless people have got any more burning questions. Don't forget to, as Patricia's just mentioned there, hit the thumbs up if you liked the stream. We'll have another stream again next weekend, if I'm right. Kim, can you just jump in there and let me know if that's going on? I'm pretty sure I'm going to schedule it for the same time next Sunday for us and Saturday for just about everybody else. But you can also support the show if you like, entirely optional of course. YouTube memberships, there's a join button below, or you can go to patreon.com. Greening a Gavin is my Patreon link, and support the show there. We also have merch like the cup and the t-shirts. Certified Curtain. There's lots of different t-shirts. You can just go to the merch shelf in the YouTube below or teespring.com/CheesemanTV, and you can go and check all that out. Kim says, yes, no problems for next week. Fantastic. Thank you so much. So, yep, and that's the show. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next week, and until then, have a great time cheese making, and enjoy every cheese that you taste.